My name is Daniel. I'm 52 years old, and until 3 months ago, I believed I had a normal family. I believed my son had a stable life. I believed my grandsons were safe. I believed that the worst thing that could happen to a parent was watching their child struggle a little. I was wrong, because one night, by pure accident, I discovered my son was living in his car, with my two grandsons in the back seat, in the middle of winter. And when I finally learned why, I felt a kind of rage I didn't know I was capable of. But before I tell you what I found inside that car, before I tell you what my daughter-in-law had done, before I tell you why the police got involved later, let me take you back to the moment my reality cracked. Because once you hear this story, I promise you, you'll be asking yourself the same question I asked that night. How did I not see this sooner? I've always been a practical man. Worked 28 years as a mechanical engineer. Quiet life. Small house in a quiet neighborhood. My wife passed away 6 years ago. Cancer. After that, my son, Aaron, became my world. Aaron is 28. Smart kid. Sensitive. Soft-hearted. The kind of boy who'd rescue stray cats and cry during Pixar movies. He married young, at 23, to a woman named Melissa. At first, I thought Melissa was perfect for him. Charming. Confident. Beautiful. She had this way of speaking that made every sentence sound like she knew exactly what she was doing. They had two boys. Ethan, 6. Noah, 4. My grandsons. And for a while from the outside, they looked like the perfect little family. Photos on social media. Birthday parties. Matching Christmas pajamas. But as years went by, I noticed small things. Aaron stopped visiting as often. When he did, he looked thinner. Tired. Melissa always answered questions for him. If I asked Aaron, "How's work?" she'd jump in. "Oh, he's doing fine. Busy, busy." Sometimes I'd catch Aaron glancing at me, like he wanted to say something. But Melissa was always there, hand on his shoulder, smile too tight. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, every couple has dynamics. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was 9:47 p.m., a random Tuesday. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. A tiny voice said, "Grandpa." It was Ethan. My heart stopped. "Ethan? Honey? Where's your mom? Where's your dad?" Silence. Then whispering. "We're in the car." "In the car? What?" Another pause. Then, "It's cold. Daddy says don't tell anyone." I stood up so fast my chair fell over. "Where are you?" "What city?" "I don't know. There's a big supermarket sign. Blue letters." The call cut off. I tried calling back. Disconnected. I grabbed my keys and jacket without thinking. I didn't even know where I was driving. Just that my son and grandsons were out there, somewhere, in a car at night in winter. For 2 hours I drove, through parking lots, gas stations, side roads, searching for a blue supermarket sign. Then, near midnight, I saw it. A large store. Half-empty parking lot. And in the far corner, a car with fogged windows. I parked, walked up, tapped the window. The door unlocked. And there they were. Aaron in the driver's seat. Pale, eyes red, unshaven. In the back, Ethan and Noah wrapped in thin blankets. I couldn't speak. Aaron whispered, "Dad, I didn't want you to find out like this." I asked the only question that mattered. "What?" Aaron swallowed hard and said, "Melissa locked us out." And that was just the beginning. Because what he told me next was worse than anything I imagined. To be continued. I opened the passenger door and told Aaron to get out of the car. The cold night air hit us. He stood there, shaking, not from the temperature, but from shame. I wrapped my coat around Noah and lifted him into my arms. Ethan climbed out, holding my hand so tight his fingers hurt. We sat on the hood of my car. Only then did Aaron start talking. "It started 6 months ago," he said. "Melissa said she needed space. She wanted me to move out for a while, just until we fixed things." I stared at him. "You moved out and left the kids?" Aaron shook his head quickly. "No, I told her I'd never leave the boys. She said fine, that we could co-parent, but I had to leave the house." I felt my jaw tightening. "So, where were you staying?" "At first a motel," he admitted. "Cheap one. Weekly pay." I was still sending her money for bills. I thought if I kept everything calm, we'd work it out. He laughed bitterly. Then she stopped letting me inside the house. Said it confused the kids. So I just picked them up, spend the day with them, and at night. He gestured to the car. My stomach twisted. You've been sleeping in the car with my grandsons? Aaron nodded. For 2 months. I had no words. Ethan looked up at me and whispered, Daddy, he says Mommy is mad at him. I turned to Aaron. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell anyone? His voice broke. Because I thought I deserved it. Silence. Then he added, She said if I told anyone, she'd take the kids away forever. I felt something dark rise inside me. Does she know you're living in a car? Aaron shook his head. She thinks I found a small apartment. I told her that so she wouldn't feel guilty. I stared at him in disbelief. You lied to protect her feelings, while she let you freeze with 2 children in a parking lot. Aaron wiped his eyes. She said I ruined her life. That marrying me was a mistake. That I'm weak. That I can't provide. I looked at my son, the gentle boy who used to save stray cats, now apologizing for existing. I said quietly, This ends tonight. Aaron panicked. No, Duth. If you confront her, she'll call the police. She'll say I kidnapped the kids. I cut him off. She locked her own children out of their home. She's the one who should be afraid of the police. Aaron looked terrified. And then, from the back seat, Noah said something that made my blood run cold. Grandpa, Mommy said Daddy isn't our real dad. Everything stopped. Aaron froze. I slowly turned toward him. What did he just say? Aaron's face turned white. And in that moment, I realized this situation was far worse than I ever imagined. I didn't sleep that night. After bringing Aaron and the boys to my house, I made up the guest room, gave them hot food, clean blankets, and tucked my grandsons into bed. They fell asleep instantly, exhausted in a way no child should ever be. Aaron sat at my kitchen table, staring at a cup of tea he hadn't touched. At 5 a.m., I said, We're going to the house. He looked terrified. Dad, please. She'll twist everything. She always does. I leaned forward. She locked children out in winter. If she tries to twist that, I'll gladly watch her try. The drive was silent. We pulled up to their house, the same house I'd helped them buy with my savings. The same house where I'd once painted the nursery walls with Aaron. Lights were on, music playing inside. At 6 in the morning, I rang the doorbell. No answer. I rang again. Finally, the door opened. Melissa stood there, hair perfect, silk robe, coffee cup in hand, like she'd just stepped out of a lifestyle magazine. She smiled. Oh, Daniel. Aaron. What a surprise. Then she noticed the boys behind us. Her smile faltered for half a second, then returned. Why are the kids here so early? I stepped forward. Why were they in a car last night? Her eyes flicked to Aaron, then back to me. They were with their father. Isn't that what you wanted? Shared parenting. I took a breath. Melissa, they were sleeping in a freezing car. Because you changed the locks. She sighed, like a teacher disappointed in a slow student. Aaron moved out. I changed the locks for safety. I didn't know he was irresponsible enough to drag the children into that situation. Aaron finally snapped. I begged you to let me inside. I told you I had nowhere to go. Melissa crossed her arms. You should have thought about that before you disappointed me as a husband. I stepped between them. You let your children sleep in a parking lot. Melissa tilted her head. Children need stability. I provide that. I pointed at the house. And who's inside right now? She stiffened. Then a man walked into the hallway behind her. Tall, muscular, wearing Aaron's old hoodie. He looked at us casually. Oh, hey. Aaron's voice shook. Who is that? Melissa smiled. This is Tyler. My partner. Partner. Not boyfriend. Partner. Aaron stared like he'd been stabbed. You were still married to me. Melissa shrugged. You moved out. Aaron whispered. You moved out. Silence. Then Noah tugged my sleeve. Grandpa, that man sleeps in Daddy's bed. Aaron looked like he might collapse. I felt something in me go ice cold. I said quietly, You're going to let the children pack their things. Melissa laughed. You're not taking my kids. I pulled out my phone. Then I'm calling the police and child services and telling them you knowingly left minors homeless overnight. Her smile vanished. For the first time, she looked nervous. But then she smirked. Go ahead. Tell them the father kidnapped them and is mentally unstable. I have texts. Aaron turned to me, whispering in panic. She saved everything. Every time I begged, every time I cried, she told me to express my feelings over text. My stomach sank. She had built a trap, and Aaron had walked straight into it. Melissa leaned in and whispered, "You'll never win. He's weak, and I own the narrative." I looked at her, this woman who once called me dad, and I realized this was no longer a family argument. This was war. I didn't call the police. Not yet, because as I stood there in that doorway, staring at Melissa and the man wearing my son's hoodie, I realized something important. If I made the wrong move now, Aaron could lose his children forever. So I did something Melissa didn't expect. I smiled. "Of course," I said calmly. "You're right. This is emotional. Let's not argue in front of the children." Melissa blinked. She wasn't used to me being calm. I turned to Aaron. "Go get the boys breakfast. I'll talk to Melissa alone." Aaron hesitated, then nodded, taking Ethan and Noah to the car. The moment they were gone, my voice dropped. "You changed the locks while still legally married. You denied the father access to his children. You let minors sleep outside in winter. That's neglect." Melissa leaned against the doorframe. "Prove it." I took out my phone. "I already have a witness. Ethan called me. That call is recorded." Her eyes flickered. I continued, "And I will happily hand that recording to Child Services, along with testimony from 2 children." She stared at me, studying. Then she said something that made my skin crawl. "You think they'll believe children over me?" Before I could answer, Tyler stepped forward. "Babe, relax. We've got this." I turned to him. "You live here?" He smirked. "Yeah, paying half the mortgage now, too." I looked at Melissa. "So you moved another man into the house while still married and forced the father of your children out?" She shrugged. "Marriage is paperwork. Love is reality." I said quietly, "You're going to regret this." She leaned in close. "You're old. He's weak. And those kids love me. You're both replaceable." I walked away before I did something I regret. Back in the car, Aaron asked, "What do we do?" I looked at my son, broken, shaking, terrified of losing his children. And I said, "We get evidence." Over the next 2 weeks, I became a man on a mission. I installed a dash cam in Aaron's car to record every pickup. I bought him a cheap motel room near the school so the kids had a real bed. I hired a family lawyer using my retirement savings. But the biggest turning point came from someone I never expected. Melissa's neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Kaplan. She knocked on my door one afternoon. "I saw your son sleeping in the car," she said. "I saw the children crying. I saw Melissa laugh about it with her new boyfriend." She handed me a USB drive. "I have security cameras. Everything is recorded." My hand shook. Video footage. Proof. That night, the lawyer watched the recordings and said 4 words. "We could take her down." But just as we were preparing to file for emergency custody, Aaron received a message from Melissa. "If you go to court, I'll tell them the kids aren't yours." Aaron stared at the screen. His voice was hollow. "Dad, what if it's true?" And in that moment, the ground beneath us cracked again. Aaron didn't sleep that night. He sat at my kitchen table, staring at his phone, reading Melissa's message over and over. "If you go to court, I'll tell them the kids aren't yours." By morning, his voice was barely there. "Dad, what if she's telling the truth?" I felt my chest tighten, not because I believed Melissa, but because I saw how completely she had broken my son's sense of self. We called a lawyer. He didn't hesitate. "Do the DNA test now, voluntarily, before she can weaponize it." So we did. Swabs. Paperwork. Waiting. 5 days that felt like 5 years. During that time, Melissa played her next move. Aaron received a notice. She had filed a police report, claiming Aaron had taken the children without consent. The police came to my house. 2 officers. Calm, polite. But when they asked the boys where they wanted to stay, both ran to Aaron. "We want Daddy." The officers noted everything. They saw the motel receipts. They saw the dashcam recordings. They saw Mrs. Kaplan's footage. They left without taking the kids. Melissa's narrative was cracking. Then the DNA results arrived. Aaron opened the envelope with shaking hands. Ethan, 99.9% match. Noah, 99.9% match. Aaron exhaled like a drowning man reaching air. I hugged him, but relief lasted only minutes, because the next email from the lawyer said, "Melissa has filed for full custody and exclusive ownership of the house." Emergency hearing in 72 hours. Aaron stared at the screen. Dad, I can't fight this. I don't have money. I don't have strength. I'm tired. I looked at him. You're not fighting. I am. I sold my second car. I withdrew from my retirement fund. I paid the lawyer. In court, Melissa arrived like a queen. Designer suit. Perfect makeup. Tyler beside her. She cried on cue. She spoke about protecting the children from an unstable father. She showed Aaron's desperate texts, begging, apologizing, saying he was nothing without her. The judge frowned. Then our lawyer stood up and played the footage, the children in the car, their breath visible in the cold. Melissa laughing on her porch with Tyler, saying, if he freezes, that's his problem. Gasped in the courtroom. Melissa's face drained of color, but she still had one card left. She turned to the judge and said, I am pregnant with my new partner. These children need a stable family unit. Aaron's knees nearly buckled. Another child, replacing them. The judge called a recess. Outside the courtroom, Aaron whispered, I can't breathe. I put my hand on his shoulder. Listen to me. She thinks she's one, but she just admitted adultery while still married, emotional abuse, and child neglect. Judges don't like manipulators. Aaron looked at me. What if you're wrong? I met his eyes. Then we keep fighting anyway. The judge returned. Everyone stood, and the first real crack in Melissa's armor finally appeared. Because the judge said, temporary full custody to the father. Immediate protective order against the mother pending investigation. Melissa screamed. Tyler stormed out. And Aaron just stood there, shaking, holding his sons. But I knew this was not the end, because Melissa had one final, devastating move left, and she would use it. For the first time in months, Aaron smiled. He took Ethan and Noah for ice cream. He tucked them into real beds in my house. He read them stories. And for a moment, it felt like the nightmare was over. Melissa didn't show up for the court-ordered child handover. She didn't answer calls. She didn't post on social media. She vanished. 2 days later, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Unknown number. A woman's voice said, This is Detective Harris. Are you Daniel Brooks? My heart stopped. Yes. We need you and your son to come to the station immediately. Melissa Carter has filed a criminal complaint. Aaron grabbed the phone from my hand. What complaint? She claims you assaulted her and threatened to kill her if she didn't give you the children. Aaron went pale. But I've never touched her. The detective's voice stayed neutral. Sir, we just need your statement. At the station, Aaron sat under bright fluorescent lights, answering questions with shaking hands. They showed him Melissa's report. Detailed, emotional, convincing. She even had a photo of a bruise on her arm. I watched the detective's eyes shift slightly toward Aaron. Doubt. Then our lawyer arrived with a USB drive. He placed it on the table. Before you proceed, he said, you might want to see the security footage. The room went silent as they watched. Melissa on the porch, laughing. No fear. No bruises. No threats. Then dashcam audio. Melissa's voice. If you tell anyone, I'll destroy you. The detective leaned back and said, Interesting. Aaron's shoulders finally dropped. But the detective wasn't done. There's something else. Melissa left town. Her phone is off, and she withdrew a large amount of cash before disappearing. I frowned. She ran. The detective nodded. We believe so. Aaron whispered. Why would she run if she was winning? Then, as if summoned by fate, the lawyer's phone rang. He listened. His face changed. He put the call on speaker. A hospital receptionist said, Hello. We're calling to confirm if you're related to Melissa Carter. She was admitted last night. Complications with pregnancy. She listed Aaron Brooks as spouse. Aaron stared at the wall. The woman who tried to destroy him was carrying a child. Alone. In a hospital. With no one. Aaron's voice cracked. Dad, what do I do? I looked at my son. The boy who once saved stray cats. Who slept in a car so his kids could be safe. Who never stopped loving people who hurt him. And I said, we go to the hospital. Because some stories don't end in courtrooms. They end in choices. And Aaron's next choice would define the rest of his life. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and sleepless nights. Aaron walked beside me, his hands shaking in his jacket pockets. Ethan and Noah stayed with a neighbor. We reached the reception desk. Room 312. We knocked. No answer. Aaron slowly opened the door. Melissa lay in a hospital bed. No mock-up. No perfect hair. No confident as might. Just a tired woman. And in her arms, a newborn baby girl. She looked up. Her eyes widened. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Melissa whispered, "You came." Aaron swallowed. "I heard you had no one." She looked away. Tyler left. When I told him I was pregnant, he disappeared. Silence. Machines beeped softly. Finally, Aaron stepped closer. He looked at the baby. "So, she's my daughter?" Melissa nodded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I lied about everything," she said. "I thought if I broke you, I could start over. With someone better. I was wrong." Aaron's voice shook. "You locked our children out. You made them sleep in a car." Melissa closed her eyes. "I hated myself, and I hated that you were kinder than me. I watched my son, saw the war inside him. Anger, pain, love, pity, all at once. Finally, he said, 'I'm not coming back to you.'" Melissa flinched. "But the baby—" Aaron looked at the tiny girl, then at me, then back at Melissa. "She deserves a father. But I will never let you hurt my sons again." Melissa whispered, "Take her." Aaron froze. "What?" "Take the baby," she said. "Raise her with your boys." "I'm not fit. I'll destroy her too." The room went silent. I watched Aaron's face change. He had spent his whole life protecting others. And now fate handed him a child born from betrayal. He reached out, held the baby's tiny hand, and the baby gripped his finger. Aaron's eyes filled. "I'll raise her," he said, "but you'll get help. Therapy, treatment, and you will only see her when a court says it's safe." Melissa nodded, sobbing. Weeks later, Aaron had full custody of all 3 children. Melissa entered psychiatric treatment under court supervision. Tyler was gone. The house was sold. A new start. Aaron found a small apartment. I visit every Sunday. The boys are happy. The baby laughs. Aaron smiles again. And sometimes, late at night, he says, "Dad, if you hadn't answered that call." I always answer the same way. Family saves family. Because sometimes, the worst moment of your life is the beginning of something better.